Good evening everyone. Greetings from CapitalVia. This is Vishal Balabaduni hosting today's webinar for you. So, as you all know, just a minute. So, today our topic of this webinar is Budget 2021 and Investment Ahead. So first of all, let us understand why the budget is so important for any country. एक देश का बजट बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी इसीलिए होता है क्योंकि उस बजट में ही सरकार ये सारे निर्णय लेती है. It takes decisions which will affect the macroeconomic factors of the country. कंट्री के एक इकोनॉमी पे, उसके इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर्स पे एक डिसाइसिव इफेक्ट जो होता है वो एक कंट्री के बजट का होता है. सो इसीलिए सब लोगों की हमेशा से दिलचस्पी बजट, कोई भी कंट्री के सिटीजन्स हो, उनकी हमेशा से ये एक दिलचस्पी होती है अपने बजट के प्रति. सो हम लोग का बजट रिसेंटली 1 फरवरी को ही आया था. सो इन दिस वेबिनार नेक्स्ट सम टाइम वी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई दिस बजट वाज सो इम्पोर्टेंट and what all impact it may have on us in the upcoming times, in the foreseeable future. So first of all, let's talk about the most disrupting factor of 2020. It is obviously COVID pandemic. So basically, why COVID is such a disrupting factor? I mean, there have been crises. बहुत से क्राइसिस हुए हैं आज तक. हमारे आंखों के सामने ही कई क्राइसिस हुए. We have had wars, we have had a subprime crisis of 2008, but still why COVID has become such a thing and it is a global pandemic. यानी इसका effect chain effect नहीं, actual effects were seen everywhere around the world. So COVID यानी हमने देखा होगा कि COVID एक ऐसा इकलौता एक फैक्टर रहा है जिसने एक्चुअली दुनिया को स्टैंड स्टिल पे लाके खड़ा कर दिया. दुनिया में जंगें होती रही, इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस होते रहे, लेकिन कोई ना कोई अपनी दुकान चला ही रहा था, कोई ना कोई काम पे जा ही रहा था. बट एक तरह से जब देखा जाए कि सड़कें सुनसान हो गई हैं, दुकानें बंद हो रखी हैं, तो ऐसा एक पैनिक का सिचुएशन, ऐसा एक डिसरप्शन सिर्फ कोविड ने किया. और मुझे नहीं लगता ऐसा ही कोई चीज़ आना पड़ेगा, और मुझे नहीं लगता कि इसके बाद विद इन आवर लाइफ टाइम्स वी विल सी दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ डिसरप्शन. सो दैट्स व्हाई this year all the economic reforms, because ऐसी चीज़ों के बारे में कोई एक्सपेक्ट भी नहीं करता. मीन्स पीपल रियली डोंट मीन्स कंटिजेंसी, इस चीज़ों के लिए कभी कोई कंटिजेंसी होती भी नहीं है. सो दैट्स व्हाई दिस बजट वाज सो इम्पोर्टेंट. एंड वी विल आल्सो टॉक अबाउट द वे अहेड फॉर इन्वेस्टर्स ऑफ कोर्स. सो बिफोर अंडरस्टैंडिंग what is our economy today and what we can see in future, let us go a bit back. प्री पैंडेमिक लेवल से हम लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं. सो बेसिकली अगर प्री पैंडेमिक लेवल की बात करें तो बिफोर मार्च 2020, दिसंबर 2019 से लेके जनवरी 2020 तक रियली सीइंग markets domestic markets were like performing so good, they were so great. but still यहाँ पे एक फैक्टर को हमें नोट करना चाहिए. किसी भी कंट्री की सेकेंडरी मार्केट उस कंट्री के इकोनॉमी का एक तरह से रिप्रेजेंटेशन करती है. सो द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग इज हमारा मार्केट्स जो परफॉर्म कर रहा था उस टाइम, वाज आवर इकोनॉमी आल्सो दैट ग्रेट दैट टाइम? बट एंड एक्चुअली द आंसर इज नो. देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ वेरिएशन कि हमारा मार्केट्स जिस तरह से परफॉर्म कर रहे थे. एंड द स्टेट ऑफ आवर इकोनॉमी, वी हैव हैड NBFC crisis, then we have had there were all different types of, there were problems and wars between government and the RBI. So yes, there were, and all the technical analysts will know there was such a big amount of diversion within the in the markets. So yeah, अगर कोविड नहीं भी आता, we were expecting a healthy correction, but COVID आया in a way gave an unhealthy correction. So once the COVID pandemic started, we are talking about the real disruption. What happened? The COVID is such a contagious thing with no medicine around, no vaccines. It was really and possibility of deaths, and all these things were really creating such a panic, and there was a lot of, I may not use the word fear mongering, but yes, there was a lot of fear on the street. So immediately governments across the world, they went for lockdown. Some did not go, some went, but all these cases were really necessary. All these steps had to be taken. Then here and once no one ever expected what sort of economic standstill we can come. No one was expecting that the economic activity, barring few necessities, will be just it will be just stood still. It will come to a standstill. So yeah, that really disrupted the businesses. There were a lot of people were incurring losses. Although that's what, although relief, which we'll be discussing now, came, but still it was a time, I could say it was time of great uncertainty. Now if we talk about what sort of government, what proactive steps did the government take, we come to our next step, that's sword in hand. Government did respond proactively. It came up with necessary relief packages. Some people may argue that it was not sufficient. Some people were saying it is just mumbo jumbo. But yeah, there was something. So we need to listen. There was a package of 1.7 lakh crores in March, then another few lakhs, another nearly 20 lakhs in May, and all. And that's what. So government did come up with the steps, but still it was not knowing what to do, because this sort of situation, no one ever expected that these sort of things will happen or such thing may happen. So yeah, this was one of the most tough times, and even, what do we say, governments were also left open in the uncharted territory of a vast ocean, we can say. Then it started. Then when the end of pandemic did not really was seemingly in near future, GDP started, obviously for the obvious reason, GDP started contracting. So by August we started having figures that economy has contracted nearly 23.9%, and for July September, when the data of July September quarter came out, it had already reduced to 7.5%, but yeah, technically India had already gone into recession by that time. So when did things started getting good? When did really green shoots, we started seeing green shoots? It was mostly after October, November, when things started normalizing. People learned to live with the fact of COVID. I mean, COVID was no more big news or something. But yeah, and there were US presidential elections, which was eagerly awaited across the world. And then slowly we started seeing FII participation in the country. So this is the players, and the global market started recovering. So all these things added to the recovery of our markets. So this year's one of the most important event was Union Budget 2021. Our finance minister made a statement that this is a budget unseen in the last 100 years. Obviously it was something like that, because such situations were also, I don't remember any such situation in last 100 years. Okay, even during World Wars, economic activity was going on somewhere or else in the world. Means if we go back 100 years also. So let us understand what was in it for the investor. So first we will talk about the healthcare sector. I mean, the budget started with this sector, and healthcare is really important, and this year of pandemic did really talk to us about what sort of health is wealth. बचपन में हम सब ने पढ़ा हुआ है, लेकिन हेल्थ इज वेल्थ ये प्रैक्टिकली हम लोगों ने इसी एक साल में सीखा है. एंड basically the health of its citizen is one of the most paramount responsibility of any government. So this was the reason why this sector was given enough importance in the budget this time. So we could see that nearly 74,602 crores were allocated to this sector. There was 137% year-on increase in the total outlay of our health setup, and there were talks of 35,000 crores of allocation for vaccine production, and the government promised to, or government committed to increase primary health centers, and that healthcare should reach the last mile. That sort of plan it was having, means आखिरी गली कूचे तक हेल्थ केयर पहुंचना चाहिए, प्राइमरी हेल्थ सेंटर्स की बात की गई. सो ओवरऑल दिस बजट हैड रियली ग्रेट अमाउंट फॉर हेल्थ केयर सेक्टर. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू मी these segments of healthcare and pharma segment will be really benefited in the coming time. We can look at hospitals. I mean, like hospitals will get the government grants and fundings, and when health spending increases और existing infrastructure में जो hospitals आते हैं उनका they will really be able to make good use of opportunity. Pharmaceuticals are, however, our pharmaceuticals are quite capable and very much proactive, so they are going to get further boost in this. According to me, diagnostic labs and medical equipment manufacturers, they are also going to benefit from this segment or from this budget. So the next main and important thing which the finance minister focused on was infrastructure. Okay, so in the modern world when there is globalization, आज की दुनिया में ट्रेड, कोई भी सरकार आज सिर्फ अपने सैन्य शक्ति पर, सेना की ताकतवर नहीं होती. मोर देन मिलिट्री और आर्मी पावर, a country needs to be an economic power. That's the harsh reality of this world now. So what role does infrastructure play in this? Because for the free flow of trade, अगर ट्रेड होना है एकदम आसानी से और टाइमली होना है विद और कॉम्पिटिटिव एडवांटेज के साथ, तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. सो विद दिस फैक्ट ओनली आई थिंक गवर्नमेंट did plan for 5.5 lakh crores of capital expenditure. I mean, infrastructure in our country is more or less good, but yeah, it is not at all enough. It's 130 crores of population, everyone, such a movement of freight की इतनी movement होती है. Our existing infrastructure is not really capable of handling it all. So this is what government is planning. Increased expenditure on capital facilities will increase our capacity building. There are many highway and rail projects coming up, like Western Dedicated Freight Corridor and Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor. These are just only for freight lines. I mean, पहले जब रेगुलर लाइन्स होते, पैसेंजर लाइन्स और फ्रेट में, फ्रेट को मूवमेंट में बहुत दिक्कत होती थी, बट with these dedicated corridors, we are expecting good amount of surge in trade. So who all will be the beneficiaries in this segment? Basically engineering companies, realty sector, cement companies, and to a great extent even the metal and steel manufacturers also. So the next important segment was banking sector and housing finance. So Indian economy is basically bank dominated economy. Means in our whole financial system, banks are the backbone. Means banks अगर banks निकाल दिया जाए, अगर बैंकों के साथ थोड़ी भी कोताही बरती जाए, तो we cannot even imagine what will be the state of our economy. So the main idea was, the highlight was 20,000 crores of recapitalization for public sector banks and establishment of a bad bank. For who do not understand what a bad bank is, It is generally an asset reconstruction and management board which will acquire the NPS from the bank's books. So बैंक की वैल्यूएशन में हमेशा प्रॉब्लम आती है एनपीएस को लेके, मींस ऑल द बैंक्स इज मेकिंग सच अ गुड प्रॉफिट बट उसका एनपीए नंबर थोड़ा भी बढ़ता है, इट्स प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी इज प्रॉफिट्स आर कंप्लीटली वाइप्ड आउट बिकॉज दे हैव टू प्रोविजन फॉर इट. So once these NPS move out of the books of banks, I think many of our banks will become profitable. And there were tax holidays announced for affordable housing projects and loans. People who have taken loan for housing, home loans and all those things, they will be given till 2022. They will be given tax holidays till 2022. So basically, the beneficiaries will be commercial bank, NBFCs, and housing finance corporations. Now let's come to the telecom sector. This time we can say that the telecoms, hardly any players are left. So I personally believe that because hardly any players are left, government did sort of miss out on this front. So there was no reduction in any licensing fees, and many all telecom providers were really asking for tax relief because this sector has been under stress for a long time. But still nothing much on this front. So the real impact will be on mobile service providers and allied services. So the next segment is steel. Steel is one of the main component in our infrastructure projects and the consumption. Steel consumption is both for commercial and personal consumption. It's very much important in today's world. So there was a uniformization of customs duty and they leveled it up to 7.5%. Anti-dumping duties were scrapped off, and yes, there will be some impact. There may be some impact on steel and stainless steel producers in the country. So actually, steel industry will have a mixed effect because of the increased focus on infrastructure. The growth was expected good, but with the reduction of anti-dumping duty, who knows, imports, maybe we have to just see whether imports will be cheaper or our domestic producer will be able to cope up or not. So and another important factor which we should be understanding is the fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit of our country right now it is 9.5%, and it is the government was saying they require another 80,000 crores in the next 2 months and stuff. But yes, now government cannot afford to think of fiscal deficit or things, because we have to induce growth. Now the days are gone, and really the classical economists idea of waiting for letting the economy correct itself, those things are not working anymore. Now we have all the Keynesian theory now. We really believe governments across the world, they follow Keynesian principles that governments have to take certain actions. Government को एक्शन लेने होते हैं ताकि इकोनॉमी को रिवाइव किया जा सके. So इसीलिए फिस्कल डेफिसिट को नेक्स्ट ईयर के लिए भी 6.8% ही रखा गया है, और गवर्नमेंट हैज प्लान फॉर डाइवर्समेंट ऑन मोस्ट ऑफ इट्स सेक्टर्स लाइक LIC which was already left out and other segments, जिससे वो 1,75,000 करोड़ पाने की उम्मीद रख रही है. और जहाँ तक कि देखा जाए तो पिछले कुछ महीनों में इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस की कलेक्शन अच्छी आई है. इट वाज ऑन ए राइजिंग ट्रेंड ओनली. सो कुछ खास डिफिकल्टी है नहीं इसमें. गवर्नमेंट कैन रियली कोप अप. अगले साल की स्पेंडिंग 12 लाख करोड़ तक की रखी गई है, एंड की 2025-26 तब तक जाके 4.5% से नीचे तक की ये फिस्कल डेफिसिट को लाना चाहिए. सो व्हाट इज द वे फॉरवर्ड नाउ? So as you all know, today आज सुबह 10 बजे ही RBI announced its monetary policy with maintaining status quo, and ये ट्रेंड पूरी दुनिया में अभी है कि मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी को कोई चेंज नहीं कर रहा, क्योंकि इस वक्त मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी को बढ़ाया नहीं जा सकता, क्योंकि बिकॉज वी आर एट ए ग्रोइंग स्टेज, हैंड होल्डिंग की ज़रूरत है, और इससे भी और ज़्यादा कम करेंगे तो यूनिट लाइक लिक्विडिटी, इन्फ्लेशन है, कुछ भी हो सकता है. इन्फ्लेशन विल मे गो आउट ऑफ बाउंड्स. इसीलिए स्टेटस को ही रखा गया. माय एक्सपेक्टेशन इज दैट कि अगर अक्टूबर 2021 तक तो कुछ होगा नहीं, October 2021 में seeing those that times condition, I believe they may start, they will change. They may again take what do we say? Take it all of the stock and they can do whatever. They may change it from October 2021. This time's budget was on capacity building like infrastructure and railways and on healthcare. So these sort of things investors should keep an eye on these segments. And investors should really be sector specific and stock specific these times. ऐसे ही कुछ भी नहीं लेना है बट और मार्केट जस्ट डोंट रिलेट मार्केट के मूवमेंट के हिसाब से या कोई न्यूज़ के हिसाब से, बट बी सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक, क्योंकि कुछ सेक्टर्स को प्रॉफिट मिला है इस बार, कुछ को नहीं मिला है, तो उस हिसाब से आप अपना प्लानिंग कर सकते हैं. And as we know, IMF हो गया या अदर ग्लोबल एजेंसीज दे हैव गिवन गुड रेटिंग्स फॉर इंडिया, तो उनके मीन्स उनके एक्सपेक्टेशंस है, इसलिए पॉजिटिविटी बहुत ज़्यादा आई हुई है. एंड नॉट ओनली विद इंडिया, ऑल द इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स आर नाउ रिवाइविंग, दे आर गेटिंग बैक ऑन देयर फीट. सो इसी चलते तो इन्हीं के चलते एक चीज़ है, मैं इन्वेस्टर्स को कहना चाहूँगा कि डोंट हरी, आप जल्दबाजी में कुछ भी करना है मत कीजिए. Please understand, first of all, if you want to invest in if you want to do any sort of investment, please understand the business you are investing into. और मेरी सलाह तो होगी, do not invest in anything in any business you do not understand. So वही उस बात का ध्यान रखिए. और वैल्यूएशन फ्रंट पे इन्वेस्टर्स को बहुत ही जागरूक रहना चाहिए ताकि वो करेक्ट वैल्यूएशन, अच्छे रिलेटिव वैल्यूएशंस को एक्सेप्ट कर सकें और सही वैल्यूएशन पे स्टॉक को एक्वायर कर सकें. सो दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड. फॉर एनी क्वेरीज फर्दर क्वेरीज आई वुड वेलकम यू ऑल टू विजिट आवर पेज. हमारे वेबसाइट पे ज़रूर लॉग ऑन कीजिए ताकि और आपको फर्दर नॉलेज और फर्दर जानकारी मिल सके. और you can browse onto our website.